Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on Osbc TV. My name is Tajuddin Ahmadu. The President-elect Bola Tinubu has been urged to make construction of affordable houses for citizens a priority. The President of the Nigeria Institute of Building, Professor Yohana Izam, made the plea at a two-day mandatory continuous professional development workshop for its members in Abuja. Izam said that there was an urgent need for mass housing provision in the country to ameliorate the housing deficit in the country. According to him, the provision of mass housing will not only address the housing deficit in Nigeria, but will also solve a social welfare problem, and it will also reflect the economy that will create jobs for the teeming populace. In the meantime, the federal government has said it will no longer be responsible for the correctional management of the state offenders, urging the state government to build and manage their own custodial facilities as empowered in the newly amended Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019. Minister of Interior Rauf Aregbesola said even though the justice system clearly segments state and federal offenders, the federal government has been the only one in charge of custodial facilities in the country, but in order for reforms in the correctional services to be visible, the constitution has been amended in 2019. He made this known at a two-day high-level conference on the Congestion and Correction Administration in Abuja. According to the minister, Nigeria presently has 244 custodial facilities across the country. He said with the bulk of them being in the state capital and the centers, which have provision for 52,278 inmates, it exceeded the limit by over 23,000. The minister pointed out that the primary objective of the constitutional amendment on corrections assented by the President Muhammad Buhari is to remedy the overcrowding of the custodial centers resulting from high number of pre-trial detention, arbitrary arrest, among others. The federal government has launched the Barrett processing plant to minimize high rates of illegal mining and smuggling in the south-south geopolitical zone of the country. Minister of Mines and Steel Development Olamilekan Adegbite stated this during the commissioning of Barrett processing plant in Ugaga, Yala local government area of Cross River State. According to a statement by the ministry's head of press, Funmi Imoetiyan, said that the newly launched plant will create over 20,000 jobs along the mining value chain in the south-south zone area. Adegbite noted that the plant will improve revenue generation of the artisanal and small-scale miner subsector operators and government. He added that the project will increase the rates and exports of value-added products and services and attract foreign and local investments. Minister of State for Mines and Steel, Senator Gbemisola Saraki, said the federal government decided to assist the artisanal and small-scale miners in order to stem incessant illegalities that affect the subsector in the country. Meanwhile, the state chapter of the Association of Veteran Journalists has described the Supreme Court's affirmation of the election of Governor Ademola Adeleke as a rekindled hope in the capability of the judiciary to deepen democracy in the country. The association, in a statement by its chairman Adepoju Atobatele and the secretary Olusola Ajiboye, lauded the Supreme Court justices for standing with the legitimate choice of the people as freely expressed on the July 16, 2022 governorship poll in Osun. It noted that the judgment which upheld all grounds canvassed by the appeal court is a watershed in determining electoral disputes that could have undermined democracy and rule of law. The Association of Veteran Journalists urged people of the state to give maximum support to Governor Ademola Adeleke in his effort to reposition the socio-economic and political paradigms of the state in meeting their expectations. The management and staff of Osun State Universal Basic Education Board has congratulated Governor Ademola Adeleke on his gallant victory at the Supreme Court. This is contained in a release signed by the Executive Secretary Osun Subeb, Mr. Yahya Bakari. According to the release, Subeb expressed gratitude to God and wished Governor Adeleke a fruitful tenure and prayed God grant him the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to steer the ship of the state for the benefit of humanity. A former member of the House of Representatives, Abubakar Chika, has condemned the exclusion of other aspirants in the race for the Speaker of the 10th Assembly, saying consensus candidate is undemocratic. Chika, who represented Shiroro Rufi Moya Federal Constituency of Niger State, told newsmen that the choice of the leadership of the House is solely the responsibility of members-elect, urging the All Progressives Congress (APC) to tread softly. He said if the issue of zoning had been done democratically, the party would have deemed it fit to carry other contenders along. He discredited the exclusion of the North Central and the North-East, where the APC got the majority of its votes, adding that the North Central alone gave the APC over 40% of the total votes in the North. He urged the leadership of the APC to rethink, noting that the manner in which the party is going about could backfire. The Federal High Court in Kano has adjourned till May 23 to rule on the application by the police challenging the bail granted by the court to the majority leader of the House of Representatives, Alhassan Ado Doguwa, who was charged with culpable homicide, criminal conspiracy, unlawful possession of firearm, inciting disturbance, and public disturbance. Justice Mohammed Yunus adjourned for ruling after taking arguments from counsel for the police, A.D. Saleh, and Doguwa's lawyer, Nureni Jimoh, SAN. The police had in March come after the federal lawmaker representing Doguwa, Tundunwada Federal Constituency of Kano, over allegation that he had a hand in the killing of some members of the opposition New Nigerian People's Party in Tundunwada constituency during the February 18 National Assembly election. Doguwa was first taken before a magistrate court, which gave an order for his remand in the prison custody. Ruling on the ex parte application on March 6, Justice Yunus admitted Doguwa to bail in the sum of 500,000 naira. The Federal Road Safety Commission is advocating the application of Sharia law to prosecute traffic offenders to stem road crashes in the country. The Bauchi State Sector Commander, Mr. Yusuf Abdullahi, who made the call in Bauchi, said the extant law guiding road crashes are not stiff enough, hence the need for the introduction of the Sharia law in traffic roads. Abdullahi said the measure will instill discipline, encourage respect for traffic rules, and promote safe road habits among motorists. He said that the introduction of Sharia law will curtail bad behavior, as most of the crashes are due to negative attitude by motorists and other road users. And now to sports. Golden Eagles' hope of qualifying for the 2023 Under-17 World Cup and winning the Under-17 African Cup of Nations for the first time in 16 years were dashed following a 2-1 quarter-final loss to fellow West African Burkina Faso. Forward Abubakar Kamara scored a brace to help Burkinabe to a 2-0 lead at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in Algiers. But Eagles forward Abubakar Abdullahi reduced the deficit midway through the second half, but it was not enough as the Baby Stallions sealed a hard-fought win to reach the last four of the Under-17 African Cup of Nations in Nigeria, as well as sealed a World Cup ticket. Eagles coach Nduka Ogbade did not make any change in the team that defeated South Africa 3-2 in their last group game, and they made a fine start to the game but struggled to break Burkina Faso's defense. And on the foreign scene, nearly a week of talks, Sudan's warring parties have signed a deal that will alleviate the suffering of civilian population but made a little progress toward peace. Reports gathered that this is a first step to providing relief for trapped civilians. They agreed to allow safe passage for people leaving battle zone, protect relief workers not to use civilians as human shields. However, they did not agree to pause the fighting. Reports say there are more airstrikes and shelling in the capital, Khartoum, today, following the talks mediated by the US and Saudi Arabia, the host country. US officials said they are hopeful of safe delivery of relief supplies as both sides committed to let the badly needed humanitarian assistance after looting and attacks that targeted aid. However, the US said that the conflicting parties are still quite far apart when it comes to broken peace. Lastly, on the foreign scene, the World Health Organization (WHO) has declared that the multi-country outbreak of the monkeypox virus, which began around a year ago, is no longer a public health emergency of international concern. The World Health Organization Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said this while speaking to journalists in Geneva, Switzerland. Monkeypox is a less severe cousin of the now eradicated smallpox virus, which is endemic to parts of West and Central Africa and has typically been contracted from a rodent or small mammal. The virus can spread through contact with body fluid, soil or items such as clothing and bedding contaminated with the virus. Also, it can be spread from person to person through respiratory droplets, typically in a closed setting. The Emergency Committee for Monkeypox met and recommended the multi-country outbreak of monkeypox no longer represents a public health emergency of international concern, but emphasized that monkeypox continue to pose significant public health challenges that need a robust, proactive, and sustainable response. And that ends the midday news on OSBC. Join us at 3 for the state news. Good afternoon.